Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. Gujarat Chief Minister Anandiben Patel submitted a resignation this evening. The announcement of her intention to resign came through a social media posting on Monday. The resignation, though was being talked about for some time, however, still came as a surprise. The reasons behind the resignation is being discussed ad nauseum, though Patel made it out that she was resigning as she was reaching the age of 75 and wanted to make way for younger people. No one seems to want to believe this explanation. However, what everyone seems to agree on is that BJP is right now going through a crisis in Gujarat, and the resignation of Anandiben Patel has only added to it. The Patidar agitation for last over a year and now the Dalit uprising have all added to the worries of the BJP. Both the Prime Minister and the BJP National President have huge stakes in containing the crisis. So what are the challenges before them and the party now in Gujarat? We will discuss this today with Ashok Tandon, senior journalist, Smita Gupta, associate editor of The Hindu, Vinod Sharma, political editor, Hindustan Times, and on the phone line from Bangalore is Akar Patel, a columnist and a former editor. Welcome to all of you. Akar? Akar, you're there? Akar, can you hear me?
No, I can.
Okay. Akar, why why is nobody willing to believe the explanation given by Anandiben Patel that she is resigning because she is attaining the age of 75?
Well, because Gujarat, since Mr. Modi has left it, has become a slightly less model state. And I think the perfection that was expected of it, most of it was the creation of a myth, because no state in this part of the world can really be perfect. But I think the idea that it was completely without any kind of corruption, that socially it was a state where there was no rift between the weaker sections and the dominant ones, all of that has been exploded. I think the idea of a Gujarat model that is perfect and that can be exported nationally, that had come under threat. And so I think things had come to a stage where it could no longer be put off. And I think that Ms. Patel's resignation should be seen in that light.
So so are you trying to say that she was actually forced to resign and not resign voluntarily?
She is very close to Mr. Modi and they've worked together for many years. So I don't know if the word force may be used. If the facts had been laid out in front of her coldly, which I'm told that they were, she would have agreed that her leaving might lead to a slightly better situation than the one that prevails now. But I think that her management of the Patidar agitation, I think the way that the state has been portrayed in wake of the Una episode are not quite the sort of things that the rest of the country would have anticipated. I think especially the Patidar agitation, when the dominant community says that the economic process of that state is flawed, I think then the whole idea of a Gujarat model tends to come under a scrutiny. So I think that it was required that the BJP change tack, and they've chosen to do this through a change in leadership.
Okay. Ashok Tandon, you think it is inevitable?
No, Girish, I think my colleagues from Delhi will agree. Right from 2014, when she was made the Chief Minister, at least we in Delhi believe that she will not continue till the 2017 elections. Somebody midway will come and she may retire when she attains the age of 75. And therefore, it was expected that Anandiben has to go sooner or later, perhaps by November. But the timing is certainly, of course, of discussion, subject matter of discussion. So I don't, particularly we sitting in Delhi, will not go into the nitty-gritty of the Gujarat politics of it. Because as I said, we believed right from the beginning that she will not continue till 2017.
So are you trying to say that, there is no crisis?
No, the thing is, I won't say crisis. Challenges, certainly, of course. In politics, there are challenges. In the given situation in Gujarat, there is a challenge before the party, before the government in Gujarat, before Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, and before Amit Shah as the party president. Certainly there are challenges, but in politics, challenges do come and they and the leadership will try to overcome it.
And this is a challenge which can be overcome without
Certainly,
much
I
problems.
think so. It's not such a big crisis. See, elections are still at least 1.25 years from now, and I think see, one thing we can't forget, that even in 2017, the election in Gujarat will be fought with Narendra Modi as the leader, because he still has an aura in Gujarat, and the people of Gujarat will not be voting just because of the merit of the government in Gujarat, but the Narendra Modi factor also.
Factor will be there.
It certainly will be
That's,
there.
That's what you think.
Yeah.
Smita? Can we say that whoever is going to be now the chief minister, according to what Ashok Tandon is saying, whoever is going to be a chief minister will be a will be some kind of a rubber stamp. The
I
aura,
never said rubber stamp.
no, the aura of Modi will be, will be all pervasive.
See, the next chief minister will be Mr. Modi's man or stroke woman, though there aren't any women in the running right now. But while I partially agree with Mr. Tandon in the fact when he says that people had anticipated that Anandiben will not continue till the end, but I think the crisis that Gujarat is facing is
You
huge.
call it a crisis. He calls it a challenge.
No, I think it's a huge crisis. Because if you just go back in history, from 1995, the Congress has not been in power in Gujarat. From 1998, it's an unbroken BJP government. That is 16 years. And
18 years now.
yeah, no,
From 1998.
Yeah, in between there was a Rashtriya Janata Party.
No, now 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that and the success, first you had Keshubhai Patel, and then of course you had Mr. Modi. Now, Mr. Modi's success even in 2014 in the general elections was based on this Gujarat model that Akar was just talking about. But now it has been proved that in 2 years, it's a really fragile model, that all these social tensions are coming to the fore, the economic policy is being questioned by the Patidars, there's this huge Dalit uprising. It's almost like he had put a lid on many such tensions. So, and if it is not contained very quickly, then in fact, if you ask me, for the BJP, winning Gujarat next year is far more important than winning UP next year, because it will show that this model was really fragile, because it sort of took on some superhuman kind of dimensions. So therefore, I think Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah, who together actually succeeded in winning election after election in Gujarat. I mean, you cannot discount Mr. Amit Shah's role. Absolutely. Because he was Mr. Modi's brains trust in Gujarat. So so the next person, whoever it is, in fact, in the morning today, people were even saying it could be Mr. Amit Shah. Of course, the party has denied it. Will have to be someone who restores that. And I think Mr. Modi's attention will be on Gujarat to a very great extent.
What is going to be on the topmost in the mind of the Prime Minister and the party president Amit Shah when they are going to choose a new leader there?
You see, Gujarat is a grave crisis for the BJP for one reason, and that is the unraveling of the social alliance that it had put together in Gujarat, whether it was, which is fenced with all kinds of tall claims or not. But the social alliance that they were claiming in Gujarat, and that was largely a religious alliance, which is based on Hindu supremacy, that alliance is coming apart. Because the two major social groups which have rebelled constituted the core of that alliance. Though the number of Dalits is not very big in Gujarat, but its implication on UP is going to be grave. It is not just about Gujarat that we are discussing today. Smita said that it's more important for them to win Gujarat than UP. I think both Gujarat and UP are interlinked. And if they lose Gujarat, they lose UP, but UP is going to happen before Gujarat. So that is why the biggest challenge today for the BJP is in Uttar Pradesh in the run-up to the elections there. And
the implications of Gujarat on...
And the mere change of face in the state, and I can say it on the strength of past experience, that when the BJP brought Sushma Swaraj in Delhi, they still lost the election. They lost the election. And Sushma Swaraj was no ordinary face to project in Delhi. They lost the election in Delhi. Much will depend on the social alliance they try to project through the appointment of the new chief minister. Now, whether he is going to be a Patel replacing a Patel, or whether it is going to be a backward caste, one doesn't know. But I would personally feel that BJP will be better off if it were to project a Dalit chief minister in Gujarat, Now, presenting a Dalit chief minister in Gujarat would also have its own implications within Gujarat, because the Patel community is already disaffected, and as I said, the social alliance is coming apart. So it is not an easy solution situation, and I think that Mr. Modi will need to do more than merely depend on Mr. Amit Shah to choose a new successor. Of course, they act in tandem, both of them. Both of them know Gujarat very well, and they are best placed to decide who would be the next leader. You see, mind you, that Anandiben was also done in by the intra-BJP politics.
Absolutely.
And we can't ignore that fact.
Right.
And it was believed that even while she was chief minister, it was Mr. Amit Shah whose writ was largely running in the state, and then her own writ. So these are the questions the Prime Minister will have to address, the BJP President will have to address.
Okay, Akar? Akar, is that the challenge which the Prime Minister and the party president faces now, to choose what kind of a leader now who can restore what you were talking about, the Gujarat model?
I think, to a large extent, the crisis is not resolvable. That the fact of jobs not being there, especially service sector jobs in an economy that is very heavily industrialized, but in an era when industry requires fewer and fewer people, and in a state where English has never been taught to any great extent, which is why they don't have a services industry. I think this is a very long-term problem. What the Patidars have come to the BJP with is not really a political problem. If the Congress were to take power, the Congress would not be able to solve it either. I think either by way of legislation, there is no way that the Patidars can get onto that list, because there is no court that would let it stand. This is one of the most privileged, powerful, well-connected communities in South Asia. For them to say that they need support of the state economically, I think is laughable. So that to a large extent, the problems the BJP faces are not short-term. They cannot be resolved through the changing of a person or bringing in somebody more dynamic. I would venture to say that even had Mr. Modi stayed on in Gujarat, this crisis would have come to fruition. This is not something that happened in his absence. It has been germinating for a very long time. I've got cousins in Surat, in Gujarat, who don't have jobs. And I think that this is not something that can be changed by bringing in a new CM. But there is a second part to it, which is that you need a competent opposition to pick up the ball and run. We have faced similar problems in Gujarat before. The Patels have rebelled many times in the past. Keshubai took the Lewa Patidar community out. Right. What happened? The BJP still won. We've had social unrest in the past, including violence against Dalits, but we had a full-blown riot in 2002. But Mr. Modi was able to survive that, and so was BJP. I think the lack of competence, the lack of energy, the lack of dynamism in the Congress, which is especially strange because it has retained a 35% vote in that state throughout this period. Right. It's a two-party state, where the second party has not been able to overwhelm the dominant party by adding those 3 or 4% votes that it needs in 20 years. The Congress has not won since the Babri Masjid fell. It came third in 1991, and the Chimanbhai Patel rump became the Congress, and that's why it is said that it was in power in the early 90s. But it has not won a single election in Gujarat since Rajiv Gandhi's sweep of 1984-85. So that's remarkable for a two-party state. Right.
No, but this social alliance which Vinod was talking about, you think that it is coming apart, and but you said that these things have happened in the past. So are you trying to say that this social alliance coming apart is not such a big challenge?
I would look at the data and say that in 2014, the BJP crossed 50% in Gujarat. They got every single Lok Sabha seat, as they did in many of the other states in northern and western India. That's the first bit. I think the Patidars don't really have an option. They own the BJP. Every single cabinet of Gujarat has been dominated by the Patidar community. Yes, there are some there is some fragmentation. Anandiben, Parshottam Rupala, Nitin Patel, Saurabh Patel, all of these are from the, what is quote unquote, the lesser Patel, the Kadwa Patel, the Lewa Patidar, to which I also belong, Keshubhai belongs, Sardar Patel came from it, Praful Patel comes from it. That is not really represented to any large extent. But this is a minor thing. I think after Hindutva, the Patels subscribed in full force to the BJP. They are ideologically aligned to the party in a way that very few parties are in the rest of India. I don't think the Lingayats in Karnataka have the same sort of affinity towards Hindutva as the Patidars do. They are believers in the cause. They believe they funded the Babri Masjid. The people who got killed at Godhra, many of them were Patidars coming back from Kar Seva. So I think that this kind of community investment cannot be removed just by the fact of a CM being changed or one of their demands not being met. So far as Dalits go, yeah, I think it is true that most of the reserved seats, the SC reserved seats in Gujarat go to the BJP, but I think it would not be right to say that the Dalits, for the most part, are votaries of the BJP in the way that the Patidars are.
Okay, Ashok. So what is the challenge before the party now? Now, while choosing a new chief minister, in the context of what Akar said and all others.
No, I tend to agree with Smita that not that UP is less important, but for obvious reasons, Gujarat is very important, and therefore they will have to think about it. The leadership which they project will have to be keeping in mind the 2017 election.
And also the immediate problem. The immediate problem is
Of
the
course.
Dalit problem is there.
No, of course.
The Patidar agitation is still a strong factor.
There are, but as also I agree with my friend that, see, Patidars have been solidly behind BJP, and if the chief minister is from the same community...
If the chief minister is not from that community now, if they decide to have, will it not add to the problems?
I doubt that they can afford to choose somebody from other than the Patel community, but the fact remains that Mr. Modi's focus will certainly be on the 2017 election, because if, as we all know, if for 2019, for Modi, Gujarat is
it's going
certain.
to be a stepping stone.
Yeah. So it is very important for Mr. Modi. So keeping all these factors apart, of course, the present situation, the within the party dynamics and 2017 election, keeping all these factors in view, they will certainly project somebody who can meet the challenge, and I think the situation would be normal maybe in 15-20 days. That is how I look at it.
15-20 days as far as choosing the new leader is concerned.
No, once the leader is installed,
you think everything else will fall in place?
No, because then he will be in charge of maintaining situation. Nobody can say that perfect situation will be arise. But certainly the challenge which is presently before the party and the government, I think will be dealt with.
Smita?
Well,
you think that a new leader will be able to move in smoothly and the succession will be pretty smooth?
I have a sense that the MLAs will be consulted also to a large extent, because
it is not going to be some kind of a imposition from Delhi.
No, I don't think they can afford to do that. So I think while I think it will be a Patel, the only exception could be, despite what the BJP has said, is Mr. Amit Shah himself. Suppose the MLAs all come forward and say that no, only Amit Shah can control, because they also have a stake in the system.
Right.
So it will be one of them. So as I said, that though it will be Mr. Modi's choice, I don't think it can afford really to go against the MLAs at this stage.
Vinod, one of the things which I want to know, Anandiben Patel managed to, by and large, overcome the Patidar agitation, in the sense that she did not lose her job because of the Patidar agitation, being a Patel herself. But you think the Dalit uprising got her job?
Well, Anandiben was never, actually she never ever measured up to the position of the chief minister. Ashokji says that it was a given that she wouldn't complete her term, the remainder of the term. After the 2012 election, Mr. Modi was there until 2014, and she was left with about 3 years or a little more. The fact remains that she lacked the persona to rule a state like Gujarat.
Why was she chosen?
She was chosen because she had the ear of the Prime Minister. And Prime Minister, rightly so from his standpoint, wanted to have a person of his confidence as Chief Minister to succeed him. Because perhaps in the initial phases of her Chief Ministership, she must have been guided ably by the Prime Minister himself. But the question is about Gujarat, that Gujarat today, both as an economic model and as a social alliance model, is giving grave cause of concern to the BJP. As an economic model, rightly Akar says that the Patidars are a very influential and very powerful and very affluent community. But to see the Patidars agitating for job quotas only shows that how brittle is the employment generating state of the Gujarat economy,
Like we are witnessing it in Haryana.
Everywhere else. So, it is a matter of great pride for the Gujaratis, their enterprise, that despite being at the farthest end of the fuel chain, Gujarat is what it is today. It is not a state we can sort of sneer at, but at the same time, it is not a perfect economic model. And you see, remember, soon after coming from Gujarat to Delhi, the first attempt was on the land bill by this government.
Right.
And from there, the government withdrew upon hearing discordant voices from the ground and from within the party. So I think that the discordant voices from the ground and from within the party should be heard by the BJP now in Gujarat in order to have a course correction which has a degree of longevity.
No, course correction. Akar, what is this course correction which they can undertake now? Because this Gujarat model, reviving and restoring the Gujarat model, is that going to be the priority? And
I
can
think
they
that's
do
going
it?
to be very tough to achieve because it is already the most industrialized major state in India.
Right.
The difference between manufacturing and services is lowest in Gujarat. It's about 11%. In most large states, for instance, Tamil Nadu, most large states that have manufacturing bases like Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, it's almost twice that. How much more manufacturing can they bring into Gujarat? I don't know. It will be very difficult with vibrant Gujarat, which is focused on manufacturing, focused on heavy industry, to do that any further. On the side of services, as we've already said, it's impossible that you can put together a generation of qualified people who are able to communicate with the world in English in a state where this is a language that has been demoted. So the short-term solution of putting together some kind of either brand new or shinier Gujarat model, I don't think that option is actually available to them. I think their best hope would be to keep intact whatever social construct they have and hope. And I think this is a hope likely to come true, that the Congress doesn't get its act together, that it remains a fragmented, incompetent party which doesn't have the energy to take advantage of the opening that the BJP has given to it.
Mr. Ashok Tandon, has there been some kind of a complacency in BJP, because of what Akar says about the way the Congress has been able to conduct itself there?
I won't say complacency, but the fact remains that when you have a weak opposition, and especially in a two-party state, then the problems arise within the larger party and the ruling party, and which is nothing new in politics.
So, do you agree that Anandi Patel's problem was internal?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is...
You say that she did not have any problem.
No, the thing is that Congress has been weak in Gujarat for quite some time. They had to borrow a leader from the BJP, Shankar Singh Waghela, who has not been able to put the act together. So in that situation, when no new leadership is emerging within the Congress in Gujarat, there generally is a tendency that, well, we don't have a challenge. But the fact remains that for last 12 years, Mr. Modi created a situation in Gujarat through his own aura and model that the Congress went from further weakening from stage to stage. And today, when the situation in Gujarat is also a challenging one, even now I agree with Akar that Congress is not taking advantage of the situation. They see the two agitation. The Patidar agitation as well as the Dalit agitation were non-political.
Yes.
the Congress could not capitalize on in these two
On either of them.
agitations, and even today, they are not posing any threat to BJP in spite of the fact that they are facing a challenge in Gujarat. So, at the end of the day, when we see the 2017 election, the electorate in Gujarat, including the Patidar community, will see whether there is a credible opposition or not. So, in that case, I mean, who is the leader of the Congress in Gujarat? Is Shankar Singh Waghela, who is neither a Patel nor a backward nor a Dalit. So, crisis is there within the Congress also. It's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge. Vinod, do you agree with that?
May I say one thing that, of course, I've seen many people lately, the BJP has this tendency of contesting election on the presumption that Aam Aadmi Party will take this segment, this chunk of vote, and we'll win the elections. The prime example of that is Punjab, where they're thinking that we'll come back to power together with the Akalis, that, there'd be a split in the anti-incumbency vote. And surely there might be a split, and they may be better placed. But this is no way to plan a strategy for the future. It is the Gujarat state which had seen a formidable social alliance in the shape of Kham, Madhav Singh Solanki. This Kham alliance was a formidable alliance that gave the Congress a majority, which was unprecedented in the history of the state at that point of time.
Madhav Singh Solanki.
Yes, Madhav Singh Solanki. It was Kshatriya, Harijan, Adivasi and Muslim alliance. Now, Mr. Solanki, the current
Waghela.
Mr. Waghela is a Kshatriya. They are actually those are the Kshatriyas are backwards in Gujarat, if I am not wrong. So you see, you never know when an alliance happens on the ground and leadership gets thrown up. That is not a point of any solace for the BJP. A state which was the original laboratory of Hindutva after Jammu. Jammu is in a state of ferment, Gujarat is in a state of ferment. And I can understand that why the concerns and anxieties would be greater reduced regarding Gujarat. Because it is the original laboratory of Hindutva. Now, whether there can be some inroads made by the Mandal to break the Kamandal has to be seen.
Okay. The problem is the problems within the Congress actually something which BJP, despite the crisis which it is facing, can feel comfortable about?
See, the Congress is still trying to figure out what to do. They know this is an opportunity. But for instance, the Patidar agitation, they didn't get too much into it because they felt the Patidars
They didn't get into it, or they couldn't get into it?
No, they didn't get into it. Whereas in this Dalit agitation, though they are not in leadership positions at all, their members are participating in these. It's not their leadership, it's not their organization, but their members are supporting it. But the Congress is a bit hesitant because in the past, as everybody knows, was a Hindutva laboratory, a lot of the riots that took place were finally fought between Dalits and Muslims. Except that in this case, if you notice that the big rally had Muslims came together.
Right.
So the Congress is still sitting on the margins, whereas our friend Arvind Kejriwal has plunged in. First he plunged in to make friends with Hardik, once with.
Okay, so I think on that note we'll end. But it's a very interesting situation in Gujarat. Some of the points which have emerged out of this discussion is something which we'll have to watch very closely how it all develop. We'll wait and watch. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time.